right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. This is Bob Pompeani with you to 11 o'clock tonight. So it's you and me. Let's talk some sports at 412-575-2600. We're live here on KDKA Plus and also on 93.7 The Fan as we simulcast. So if you're driving around Pittsburgh and you want to ask a sports question or talk about some of the events of the weekend and the week, feel free to do so. We'll do that tonight at 11:35 on KDKA-TV with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, our 25th anniversary season of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown tonight. We have a lot to get into, including the Penguins, who had a big win today, as you know, 7-6. And boy, you didn't expect that many goals. They've been struggling to score goals. They've been pretty good at not allowing goals to score on them. And yet today it was shades of 2012 when they had that crazy playoff series with the Flyers. But Sidney Crosby was the star of this one. 5 points on the day, and age 36, man, the guy just continues to put up big-time numbers, and he's carried this team, quite frankly. He is the heart, H-A-R-T, and soul of this team, without a doubt. And he triggered it all today, and the Penguins end up getting 2 big points. So what does that mean? Well, they've pulled to within 7 of Philadelphia. That's why that was important. If they had lost, it would have been an 11-point difference. That's a 4-point swing, and these games are getting critical because they're running out of them. Just 28, now 27 left in the regular season, but they still have 4 games in hand on the Flyers, so that's big. They can close that if they win these games. On the other side of it, when you're talking about some of the wild card teams, the 2 teams right ahead of them that are currently occupying those spots both won today. Tampa beat New Jersey 4-1. Braden Point had a big game there, including his 30th goal. And then tonight, Detroit just keeps on winning, man. They go to Chicago on a night where they retired the number of Chris Chelios. It was the return of Patrick Kane that did in Chicago, as Kane got the overtime game winner. He's averaged a point a game in his last 28 games. He's been very good for Detroit, and they're on a roll right now. They still remain 9 points ahead of the Penguins in the wild card. And Tampa and Detroit pretty much going to take a lot to catch them. So the best road, the best path potentially is getting that 3rd seed in the Metro away from the Philadelphia Flyers, but they still have to worry about the Islanders and other teams there as well. So there's a lot going on there, and we'll see how it goes this week. The Penguins go on a road trip. They're going to go out west, so sometimes these can be very good for a team, sometimes maybe not so much, because they got a back-to-back weekend coming up next weekend with Edmonton and Calgary. So how about your state of the Penguins? And the trade deadline is just a little over 2 weeks away, a little under actually 2 weeks away. March the 8th is that deadline. And if the Penguins are in a situation where they're actually competing for a playoff spot, I mean, have whittled down that deficit, would they still trade Jake Guentzel? Should they still trade Jake Guentzel? Would you do it? Because he's going to come back right after that deadline is over, and he'll be there for the final stretch run. And he's a big part of what they do. And if you don't have him, he may actually cost yourself a chance. Now, to combat and make it worse, you saw today that Brian Rust went out with an injury. He got hit from behind, left the game, and it's an upper body injury. Not sure if he's going to be available to make the trip. We'll find out as the days unfold here. But without Rust and without Guentzel, that's going to be tough for the Penguins to continue to score goals. They got a couple of power play goals today, but they also gave up a shorthanded goal to the Flyers. So tell me what you think about what you would do with Jake Guentzel. If you're Kyle Dubas, do you make a deal or you just keep him? But if you know you're not going to be able to sign him, it's very risky. So I think that's where it starts. They'll probably continue to have talks with Guentzel's representatives and try to see where he is and where his mind is and what they need to do to come to terms on a longer-term deal. If they can't do that, then I believe he will be traded. We'll see what the price would be. All right, meanwhile, we saw yesterday Kyle Filipowski of Duke got injured in a court rushing down at Wake Forest. Do you like court rushes? You know, back in the day, that was something I used to always look forward to, and it's happened quite a bit. Doesn't necessarily happen at the Peterson Event Center. Pitts used to, when they were winning Big East championships, they didn't rush too many courts. But it happens a lot, and it is dangerous at times. So we saw that. Not sure what the extent of that injury is, but he was injured in that somehow, some way. I don't know if his knee got twisted, whatever. Should they put a stop to that in the NCAA? Do we need to see people running all over the place in those situations? Yes or no? Call me and air your opinions. We'll also talk about the Pirates. And Henry Davis played 5 innings yesterday as a catcher. That's 3 more than he did all of last year when he was on the roster. Do you think he'll end up being the starting catcher for the Pirates on opening day or not? And if so, is he a right fielder, That's about the only place he could be unless it's DH, but you have Andrew McCutchen there. So we'll talk about that, get your take on the 5-year, $77 million deal that pitcher Mitch Keller got, and anything else on your mind. Please feel free to call. It's 412-575-2600. We're just getting started here. You can also hit me up on Twitter at KDBomb. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We are live on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. All right, welcome back. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night is from Pittsburgh Penguins PR, Jen Bolano. Pick a category, any category. Sidney Crosby is the all-time leader in NHL history in goals, assists, and points against the Philadelphia Flyers. That's why they boo him as often as they do when he goes over there to play in Philadelphia. But, man, Crosby has been terrific. It leads us to a tweet that we got today from Sean Kramer. You can hit me up at KD Pump. Sean says, hope Sid plays for the Penguins until he's 52, just like Jaromir Jagr. Still playing. Best two-way player in the league. Much needed 2 points. The road trip looms big toward the deadline. And it does. And I think by the end of next week, you're going to find out exactly where Kyle Dubas's head is with regard to Jake Guentzel. Because if they have some problems on this road trip and fall behind, you know, you're going to have basically 20 games left. And if you're digging out a big ditch, you may not be able to overcome it even with Guentzel. So that may factor into what he does. And I do believe that even rental players like Jake Guentzel, yes, he doesn't have a contract. Yes, the team that acquires him would be forced to pay him what he wants if they want to engage in a long-term deal. However, they don't have to do that. If they think, though, they're close enough to win and they need a guy like Guentzel, who's been a proven playoff performer, then he can go there and someone may be willing to pay a lot for that just to have the right to be a rental. We'll see how it goes. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Let's begin tonight with Joe in North Braddock. Hello, Joe.
Good evening, Bob. Hey, I went to the game Tuesday, and I went to the game today with my daughter and saw two different teams and two different enthusiasms. It was amazing. They came down and shot the puck. What did Sullivan do to him?
You know, he must have had some sort of potion that he put into their Gatorade. I don't know. But, yeah, you got to shoot the puck. The only way things happen is if you shoot the puck. And on that first power play goal they got, Brian Rust was in position to shoot. He didn't look to pass. A lot of times those guys try to make a highlight reel pass, and they pass up what is a clear shot, and he put it in the net. I thought their goaltender, by the way, Cal Peterson for Philadelphia, was awful today. I don't know about you. And by the way, if you were there, tell me. It sounded like an awful lot of Philadelphia fans were there today. At least that's the way it sounded on television. If you were there, was that the case? Did you see it? Was it prevalent? But yes, shoot the puck. Good things happen when you do, but their goaltender was very, very bad. And you know, you got to have. They played yesterday and they played today, so they split the goaltending duties. But today was not what they needed. Let's go to Bert and Ross Traver. What's up, Bert? How are you?
Hi, Bob. Yeah, I saw where the Dolphins are supposed to cut Xavier Howard. Now I wondered what you thought about the Steelers maybe picking him up to help out with the defensive back.
I would not be against that. He's had, I think, 29 interceptions in his time in Miami. The guy's a ball hawker. He goes after it. You know, I don't know what the cost would be. He's going to be able to negotiate what he wants. You know, but it would be nice to have someone to complement Joey Porter Jr. And quite frankly, the other guys they have there are a little bit, you know, getting on the old side or not as effective as they really need to be. So if you can lock down two sides of the field with somebody like that, and I'm not sure how much good football he has left. I would imagine he does. And it could be that this is a good opportunity for him to come here. We'll see. Free agency begins tomorrow, of course, is the Combine. Rich Walsh will be there. We'll have reports on KDK both tomorrow and Tuesday from the Combine. So we'll see what happens. They get a pretty good idea of who they're zoning in on. You get to interview players. You get to see them in all the different things, including the 40-yard dash. So if you like metrics and if you like that sort of stuff, then the Combine is for you. Let's go to Will at McKees Rocks. What's up, Will? How you doing?
I'm good, Bob. Thanks for taking my call, as always.
Sure.
Hey, I wanted to talk Pirates with you. I have a question. Do you think the Pirates are done signing players for the rest of the season, or do you think they're going to try something with O'Neal Cruz?
Are you talking about their own players? You know, I don't know. I think it's too soon to do that with Cruz, to be honest. What's the rush? If you say it's to save money, okay, maybe not. Maybe you give it to him and he has a bad year coming back from injury. I don't think there's any rush to get it done with him. I think eventually, if he has a really nice year this year, then you can see something like that. But aside from all these other deals that they've given out, and most of them are from their own players, And that's fine. You know, Brian Reynolds got $101 million. That's great. But if you look at the overall salary numbers for outfielders, he's not even in the top 20 of highly paid outfielders. If you look at Brian Hayes at third base, it was a good franchise-friendly deal. And there's risk involved for the franchise, no doubt, in case he doesn't pan out. But we saw some encouraging signs last year at the end of it, especially offensively, to make you think that this is going to be a good deal for the Pirates for sure. And Brian Hayes, you know, maybe he could have waited out and got more in the long term. It's all well and good to give those kind of contracts out. 5 years, $77 million to Mitch Keller. Okay, he deserves that. But again, it's not going to put you in the upper echelon. What I'm looking for them to do is do it, you know, something different. Bring in a Cody Bellinger. That can't happen anymore because he signed with the Cubs for 3 years, $80 million. You're going to tell me the Pirates can't handle 3 years, $80 million? That's what is that, 25, a little bit more than $25 million a year? You add 25 to what they have, you can handle that. And you could have a 28-year-old right field or first baseman who played pretty well there with Chicago last year and drove in 100 runs and hit 26 home runs and bat .307. I'd rather have that than what they have, but it costs money. You got to play that game a little bit. But they don't want to do it. Blake Snell's another one. He's out there still. People will think, well, you're crazy to mention that for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Why am I crazy? If they want to sign him, they can. There's no limitation to what he can and cannot do. I'm speaking about Bob Nutting. It's just do it or not. And if you feel it's too much, okay, you won't do it. But you can if you want. And in a division, which I think is open this year, I don't think there are any dominant teams in the National League Central. At least it doesn't look that way. It may pan out differently. I don't know. But, you know, I think there's an opportunity for the Pirates. If they would bring in somebody like that to add to what they already have, you can make a case that they could be very competitive in that division. Yeah, it costs money to be competitive, but it's like anything else. If you run a business, you don't just stop investing in your business when you make money. You take profits and you reinvest them in your business. When you fly a plane at 30,000 feet, you don't shut off the engine, do you? No, you don't. You keep it going. Why? Because you got to get to your destination. I just think if you have an opportunity to spend a little bit more money, they should. And I'm certainly not advocating $300 million long-term 12-year deal. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is 3 years, $80 million is doable if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they choose not to play that game, and maybe it'll cost them because this could be a year where I think they're one of those teams that can do it. Meanwhile, again, I brought this up at the beginning of the show, and I'm anxious to hear if any of you have an opinion about, number one, Pitt and where they're headed. Can they make it to the tournament? You know, if they win Tuesday night against Clemson at Clemson, that'll give them a really legit chance. If they lose that game, then I'm not sure what it does. They may have to win the rest of their games and then go into the tournament ACC and win 1 or 2 there. But also we saw Wake Forest win a game against Duke yesterday, and Kyle Filipowski was running off the court as all these students were charging into the court, you know, the storming that goes on after a win. And it looked like Filipowski got injured, a knee or whatever. I don't know what the extent of that is, but it leads to the question, should this even continue? If it does, I think it should wait. There should be some sort of mechanism in place that no student can rush on until the visiting team leaves or whatever. But even the team that's home, if you rush to the court, you may be in a situation where you injure one of your own players. And guess what? This is a big business anymore. It's not college amateur athletics as you know it. It is big business. It's NIL business. It's NBA business. These guys are investments in their universities and, you know, subsequently NBA teams. They don't want to get injured because of some idiot who had too much to drink running onto the court. So I think there needs to be some consideration to trying to change a little bit of what goes on there. Anyway, 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Want to hear from you? We'll take a break, come back with more. You're watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Kim says, Bob, you do a very good monologue on TV. Well, it's also called filibustering. when there's not a call, you got to keep talking. Also, she wants to know, will you see Skeens pitch at all in Bradenton? No, you won't see. You're talking about spring training. If that's the answer, yes, you will. Question is, you know, he's going to start in AAA most likely, and you may not see him until June here in Pittsburgh. That's if everything goes well. But, you know, bottom line is they expect him to be here sooner rather than later. How soon is soon? Well, that depends on who you talk to. But I would imagine if he goes to the AAA and he plays really well, he was in AA last year, had some ups and downs, and I think it's important to remember that this is not like college baseball. This is far better than college baseball. you're going to see some, these are pros. These are people that come from the best college programs and some of the best international programs. And here they are in 3 different levels of baseball. So it's better than what you see at the SEC, no matter how good those SEC teams are, in my opinion. So he's going to have to learn how to pitch, not just rely on an arm that could put it up there at 101 miles an hour. That's fine. But you got to locate also. You have to make sure that, because these guys are, they'll figure you out if you're going to give them a steady diet. So there's a lot of that going on, but they also want, protect that Super 2 and all the other stuff that comes with it from a monetary point of view. He'll be up here at some point, I think. I just don't know when that will be. But they hope, and tomorrow's starter is Roansy Contreras down there at Grapefruit League Baseball. I think they're playing in Dunedin tomorrow, but he needs to really get back to what he was at the beginning of last year, and then everything fell apart for him. They need young pitchers to take a step up. They have a lot of guys who've had arm injuries. Oviedo's one of them. Brubaker's coming back. Mike Burrow's another one. He had Tommy John. All these pitchers that you would count on are not doing it. The strength of their team, quite frankly, is their bullpen. When you have people who can, and I'm not even talking about Hernandez, the kid they brought over from a Rule 5 guy last year. He was really good. I don't think they expected him to be in high leverage situations. He got in there and did a very good job. He's a lefty. And you got other guys. I don't know if this Josh Fleming's going to be in the bullpen or not. He looks like a guy who could be a starter, maybe a 5th starter. But then you have Majinski, you have Aroldis Chapman, you have David Bednar. You have a lot of, and Colin Holderman's still involved in there. So you have a pretty good bullpen that can go from probably innings 6 through 9 on most nights. And that's what they're going to try to do. So the starters are going to have to do just basic stuff, get through 5 or 6 innings, keep your team in a game. Keller can do that. I think you look at Marco Gonzalez, who's a 31-year-old they brought over. He has had success and a 175 to 200 inning pitcher a year when he's healthy. And then you have Martin Perez, another guy who had a long stretch of success with Texas last year. They won a world championship. So they're going to need all of them to come through and do good things, and we'll see how it goes. And then Skeens, if he gets up, that would be great sooner rather than later, especially if they're involved in contending for the division or a wild card. That's going to do it for me. Thank you for joining me tonight. We'll do it again tomorrow night at 10:35. And also, tune in tonight for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's on 11:35 after the late news on KDKA. Colin Dunlap will be part of the program, Jeff Hathorn, along with Will Graves. And we hope to see you then. As I said, Indy Combine starts tomorrow. Rich Walsh will be on the way there. His report's coming up on KDKA Monday and Tuesday. So that's going to do it for me. I appreciate your time here. Again, tune in every night. We're here 7 nights a week on KDKA Plus and most nights on 93.7 The Fan. We'll tee it up again tomorrow at 10:35 right here for another edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Wish you all a good night. We'll see you on KDKA.